I think it comes down to what's the business outcome. So how much risk are we willing to accept with that business outcome if the AI gets it wrong or if the AI is biased? So say we have AI applied to our supply chains. If the supply chain is not quite efficient, it might have a negative impact on the business, but nobody's going to splash that across the front pages as being a biased algorithm or unethical. However, anytime you're dealing with citizens or customer experience or consumer applications of AI, it takes on another lens. So I think naturally some industries have more consumer citizen, say it's healthcare or it's banks or retailers, have a lot of consumer and citizen data, and they're leveraging AI on that data. And so there is more scrutiny there. Whereas if you go to the manufacturing industries, maybe less so, because again, the application of the AI, the outcome, there's maybe less ethical considerations on that outcome.
This is not something that just has to exist in sort of the technical parts of an organization with the computer scientists or data scientists and engineers who have to certainly think about it from certain dimensions and govern it in certain ways. It's not just for sort of the middle and upper management to sort of say, hey, we need to, impose these rules and these regulations, these frameworks. It's for everyone who's thinking about how data may be used, how algorithms may be used to inform or make decisions or make recommendations.
In many cases, managers and other industry roles don't really know very well what's happening. And it is up to higher management to educate to the level people understand what are the consequences, and not only short-term like tomorrow consequences, but more longitudinal consequences. If I use this data on what will be impact on the society or on my clients next year, in 2 and 10 years. Unfortunately, there are not many use cases now, and in general, management is not aware what can go wrong. But it's probably our role as educators and institutions to build more these cases to say, okay, that there are so many things that can go wrong and we need to think about them now. And like the role of education here is super important. What I believe is that inputs from all levels are very important. And why, from technical perspective, I believe that it's difficult for governments to do is they really don't have a tool for now to check what is AI doing. So no one outside of the organization can check what the algorithm is doing. And even if someone wants to check the code, the problem can be not in the code, but in the data or elsewhere in the operations or production line. So it's very, very complex problem. And until we develop this centralized understanding, centralized guidelines, how AI should be developed, probably the responsibilities would be largely on the companies themselves, because they know their business is the best.
From somebody that hasn't lived forever in the developed world. Not everybody's government is fantastic. Not everybody's government has your best interest in mind. So just saying necessarily that, whose government is going to decide what is correct to do, I think that's something to worry about. That's something that I'll put out there and just say, yes, regulation matters, but some companies are going to be restricted exclusively to their regional domains, and they will have just one set of legislation to worry about. A number of companies are going to exist across national boundaries. And then you run into issues where you're picking and choosing to the bare minimum of legal requirement rather than doing the ethical thing or doing the appropriate thing for yourself or your company, etc.
Often the foundations have been there in the organization. They need to be evolved. The ethics frameworks need to be evolved to take into account new risks or new factors that have come up because of AI and digital. So yes, there's existing frameworks, they need to evolve, but we also need to look at company cultures and how a company leads through this evolution and this change, because AI, digital analytics is now impacting all aspects of our lives, all aspects of organizations. And so some of the ethics and the fair and the equal and unbiased use of algorithms needs to be embedded in company culture. It needs to be embedded in how people build these tools, how they apply the algorithms, how they analyze data,